back again in March, or as we get ready to introduce the evaluation tool, if that happens, that you'll have a better understanding. The people that are on the design committee, I think, will contribute the fact that the more you talk about it, the more sense it makes, the easier it is to explain. I think we're better than we were when we started, definitely. But I think it'll be a learning process for us too. Yeah, Mike?
I want to say on the two essential, B especially, as opposed to learning, look at that distinguish. Who has a class like that? That's why it's called establishing a culture. You cannot expect, I know my class, but it was different. You cannot expect your kids to walk in. You cannot expect you're monitoring the hallway, you walk in, you walk at the bookshop, you have the paper, you don't try, here you go. You can't expect, it's not going to happen. So, and that's why it's the verb, establishing. You have to think at the beginning of the year, how am I going to get my class as close to that as is humanly possible? So that's where all that kind of, what do I have to do right off the bat to establish a classroom in which that could potentially happen for some students, because it may not ever happen, as opposed to just expecting, hey, when I walk in class, you're supposed to have things like that. Should I learn that in kindergarten? Like, we know it. You can't expect them to do what they're supposed to do. So you have to, so that's really what you're being scored on is, did you do all that you can do to establish a type of classroom where it's potentially possible? Like I said, whether you never get there, maybe proficient is the best year with that. But that's just it, is you have to think, that's why we use our variable grade stuff. Why can't we do what we're supposed to do? Which do all we can to establish it.
And at one of the workshops, they described distinguish as a gold medal. Like going to the Olympics and getting a gold medal, which we dreamed of that when we were in second grade or whatever, but it's pretty hard to do. And so, like what Mrs. Porter said, you shouldn't be disappointed if you don't come up with a distinguish. It's really something to shoot for, but it's going to be pretty tough. Watching, I think, 2B, the discipline, whichever one's discipline, when we were watching the videos this past summer, there is no doubt if you have a certain class with certain kids, it's just not going to happen. And that's the one that I thought was the most unfair. Didn't seem right. I don't know. We all just have these kids that are going to challenge us. And if they misbehave at all, you're off distinguished. Somehow we've got to find our ways to get them to bring them on board. But it's going to be challenging. But that was how they described it, the gold medal. So,
So what after 2 years?
Student process.
And it's not just 2 times, it's several times in that year.
You're observed a whole bunch of times over 2 years, 10 times.
And then after that.
And then you have your evaluation.
No, you get your summative evaluation at the end of that 2-year cycle. And then as soon as you get that summative evaluation, you're basically on to this first year of your next 2-year cycle.
Instead of basically having a year off.
It's important to note that you, along with your contributors, developed SMART goals.
Yes.
What are we calling them, SMART goals?
Yeah.
You develop SMART goals, so based on your summative evaluation, you can say, okay, well, here's some areas of my teaching that are weak, that I need to improve. These are some specific things that I'm going to work on over this 2-year cycle. And you have mid-year reviews, is that what we're calling it? Mid-year reviews and other things that will allow you to kind of reflect with your administrator on, okay, now here's what I said I would do to work on. Am I seeing some growth in this area or am I not?
And that's part of the evaluation process and tool that you'll get all that when we finalize that.
As administrators, is it the same? Because, just talking about the one about correcting each other. Well, first and second graders, but you've got them all, we're not. So do you have the same ones to follow regardless of the age of the classroom?
Same
Is it
one.
all the same for you guys?
It's the same rubric.
It's the same rubric.
Same
So,
rubric.
but have they taught you, okay, in high school this might happen, where in first grade this will happen?
I think that comes from your personal background.
Are you going to have the leeway that you...
Right, and then when we did videos, they specified, I did the high school videos. So when I went through my training, I watched some that were elementary, but when I took my test, it was on the high school videos. And you're right, it does look different at each level, but that's what, as we have discussions sometimes at meetings, or you talk about how does this look at my level?
You train for your level. I trained to evaluate junior high. You trained to evaluate high school. They
K
trained
through 5 only.
K through 5 only.
Even with, you mentioned with different classes, the students that may never, the difference too between unsatisfactory, basic, and basic proficient is, do you go all year and just let that kid do it and say that's the way he is and never address it, or is it something where you're trying, you're working with them, or you're making contacts with parents, or did you just say, forget it, he puts his head down and let him sleep? Or do you address it, saying you're heading into the wall, and maybe at the end of the year you still didn't do anything, but hey, I tried all I possibly do. Or did you just say, that may be the difference?
And that's why at the high school level, having 6 different classes can be an advantage. I mean, an elementary teacher stuck with that class the whole year. We can't go see a different class.
I think overall, it's gonna be, I look at it kind of as a systems change from what we've had. You know, it's a change for us, because right now we do informal visits. We pop into rooms, and we stay a various amount of time, but we don't really, what I would say, we don't really collect evidence. You know, now, if and when we transition to this, if we pop in for 10 minutes, that 10 minutes is going to be evidence collecting. Okay, we're going to have to document what we've seen. In the past, that's mostly been if you've seen something that was really bad or something that was wrong that you needed to address. That was the only time you documented it. Well, now we're going to have to use those. We're going to have to use those 10-minute flybys to gather evidence of the good things that we're seeing, so that we can accurately rate you in the domains that the evidence falls into. So it's going to be a change for all of us. It's going to, it's not going to be, we're not going to be experts at it overnight. But I think the more years we get into the system and teachers, I think our staffs in all of our buildings are going to strive to, whether we're basic, we're going to strive to be proficient. If we're proficient, we're going to strive to be distinguished. And if we're distinguished, the goal is going to be to stay there. And that's going to be a new challenge every year, I think. For some of these components, that's going to be a challenge every year. So I think it's going to be a great change, but I think it's something we're all going to have to go through together and work together on, and it'd be good. Any questions? Any other questions, comments?
Hopefully next time we can go over the other ones, and hopefully we might even have some of the evaluation that's been approved that we can start talking about. So, because the majority of the questions stem from when you're going to be in there, what are you going to be looking for, what are we going to have to do, and that's more with the evaluation, not more with just the rubric thing here. But you can take some time to look at that and have a better understanding when we do talk about the new evaluation tool of what it's all about.
And in the next session, we'll get into domain 3, which is instruction. So I would think there would be more opportunity if for some discussion and questions, and maybe discussion amongst grade level teachers or departments or something like that too. So
If you have any questions, call or ask. We can try. We'll be glad to help answer. So, thank you.
Want us to do a certain thing when we meet again? Let us know that too.
don't let Turner talk.
And have conversations with your peers, because that's actually one of the components in a domain is